Okay, it is time finally for the boys' high school national championships. We've been talking about this, ranking teams, discussing issues, discussing who's good, who's not good, who's fallen away, who's fallen up, all of those things. And we're finally at the championship tournament. So let's have a look at the brackets, the beginning of the brackets. And remember, I do help seed this, so I'll talk a little bit about the thinking behind that, and some things might be a little bit surprising for you. So let's talk about the brackets. Let's talk about the first round, how that's going to go, and then how that might pan out with everything else. First off, Tier 2. Now, I don't want anyone who goes to nationals, who goes into Tier 2, to feel like this is lesser. It's very hard to win games in Tier 2. There are very good teams in Tier 2. I've coached a team in Tier 2 a very long time ago. You know what? They did pretty well, and we were super excited. Why? Because every single game was very, very difficult. The Tier 2 at High School Nationals sort of morphed from one thing to another, and eventually it's pretty formal now. And really what happens is you seed each bracket, single school and club, the top 8, everybody else goes into Tier 2. There have been plenty of teams that have gone into Tier 2 thinking, we deserve to be in Tier 1. We're going to win Tier 2. How hard is that? And they lose. So, having said that, let's have a look at the matchups and what are we going to make of it. All right, so right off the bat, I'm going to say that the South Orange County Raptors are the top seed and are favored. They're a very, very good team. They did very well against, Thunder. First of all, Thunder was a team that was being thought of as potentially being at nationals, but Thunder lost to the other 3 Southern California teams, so didn't go in. SOC Raptors did very well against Thunder, and overall, I think are nicely poised to win it. Will they win it? Well, that's another question. So, first game against St. Edward. I think St. Edward. Look, the other thing about that I'm going to talk about is challenging yourself. So there are teams that duck difficult games, and there are teams that don't duck difficult games. And the two school teams coming out of Cleveland, St. Edward and St. Ignatius, do not duck difficult games. As it turns out, St. Ignatius is on the rise. It's a pretty strong team, and we'll talk about them later. St. Edward is working on some stuff. And, I got to say to all the players on that team, you're going to thank your coach because he's not ducking anybody. And he's having you play teams like Gonzaga. Why? Because you're going to come in battle-hardened. Lost some games? Absolutely lost some games. But you're going to come in battle-hardened. So this is going to be a tough game for the Raptors because St. Edward's not going to be fazed by really anything that you throw at them. They're going to be able to handle it, at least emotionally. Will they be able to do it on a rugby level, athletic level? Well, that's another thing entirely. And I think really this is all a series of lessons for St. Edward to come back in 2026 and be amazing. Win or lose, they're going to learn a ton from this and glean a lot from this. It's going to be a tough game for SOC Raptors. I will favor them in that opening game. Also in that bracket, St. Thomas Aquinas versus Raptor Rugby of Tennessee. This is a fascinating game for me. Aquinas comes to nationals every year. Sometimes they're in Tier 2, sometimes they're in Tier 1, sometimes they've made the semifinals. They've won Tier 2. They have struggled in the top tier. I think top tier last year they were 7th. This year, I think they're struggling a little bit. They lost their state final by a significant margin. They're playing against a state champion in Raptor Rugby of Tennessee. I think Raptor Rugby, this is one of the better teams that they've had. Physical, athletic, piecing the pieces together quite nicely. You'll recognize names. It's really interesting, but this happens all the way through teams that are on the up. Guess what? Number 8 or their hooker, or more likely scrum half, fly half, generally fly half, is a coach's kid. So that's true. Raptor Rugby, seeding aside, I kind of feel like Raptor is the team there. So this is a 4-5 one. Generally when you seed, in 4-5, you're like, I don't know. Could be this team. Could be this team. Let's put them at 4 and 5. Let's see how it works out. So I would pick Raptor there. Sorry, Aquinas. I would pick Raptor there. So then in the other bracket, now we have a 3-6 game and a 2-7 game. Now, the 3-6 game is KC Junior Blues against Fort Hunt. Now, we've got Junior Blues at 3, Fort Hunt at 6. Personally, for me, those two could flip. I think this is a 4-5. I think this is the same as Aquinas versus Raptor. I think it's a 4-5. I don't know who's going to win this one. I'm going to not sure. I'm going to lean Fort Hunt, but I don't know. It could go either way. I really think this is more like a 4-5 game. On the other side, you've got New Trier, a really strong team from Illinois, and East Side, a really strong team from Washington. I feel like East Side, well, when I was seeding all of these things, I was sort of deciding how I would seed it. It was a big question for me whether East Side would be in the top tier or not. So I kind of think of them, they are seeded 2. I think of them as 1A. I think they could win this. But again, it's very, very difficult. The final is enormously difficult because you will have played 2 of the very toughest games you've played all year, and then you have to turn around and play a 3rd game. So Raptors against Eastside, yeah, I can see that. I definitely can see that. The dark horse, well, I think KC Junior Blues Fort Hunt, one of those teams, I don't know which one, one of those teams is going to burst out and say, hey, we're here. Remember, Junior Blues made the Tier 2 final last year. Raptor, dark horse, yes. I don't see them beating SOC Raptors, but I do see some Raptor versus Raptor action potentially there in the semifinals. But yeah, SOC Raptors against Eastside, yeah, could happen. In the club bracket, well, okay, let's talk about the question mark teams first. So Belmont Shore versus Layton Christian Academy. Last year they played, that was an overtime game. Belmont Shore won in overtime. Absolutely, this is as close a game. This is LCA lost the Utah final in overtime, and Belmont Shore lost the Southern California final by like 2 points. So yeah, they are right there. They're so close. Belmont Shore potentially, in fact, without a doubt, the best boys plus girls program in the United States. Certainly boys plus girls plus youth program in the United States. There's no doubt about that. Excuse their girls team won national. So the national club championship. Belmont Shore versus LCA, toss-up. Absolutely a toss-up. Cavemen, who won that Utah final in overtime against the Charlotte Tigers. It's easy to dismiss the Charlotte Tigers as the team that's not the Charlotte Cardinals, but they lost to the Cardinals something along the lines of 37-25. That's the score I seem to remember. That's a really good score against the Cardinals. That's kind of astonishingly close, really. And the Tigers, because they play against a very, very strong team locally, it's easy to forget. They actually know what they're doing. So Cavemen versus Tigers, also a toss-up game. I would say Tigers a little bit more organized, a little bit more structured. Cavemen, when they play, their pattern are astonishingly good, athletic, powerful. They can be drawn out of that. So we'll see how that goes. We certainly saw that in the Utah final. First half, both teams playing a really good brand of rugby and understanding it. The second half was not not picturesque, let's say that. Okay, so then the other games, Mustangs versus Woodlands. I think this is really interesting because you've got two teams that made the last two club finals now playing each other. Mustangs seeded 2, Woodlands seeded 7th. How did that happen? Well, it happened because of strength of schedule. Not necessarily Woodlands' fault. They weren't ducking anybody, but they found it very, very difficult to play games. Teams in Texas didn't like the idea of losing 85-3, and eventually they go. They try to play somebody in Louisiana. They try to play somebody in Kansas, in Oklahoma. Eventually they run out of opponents, and Texas get some stronger clubs going. Really, don't be afraid to play them. You're not going to get better unless you play them. But I do think they're undercooked. And San Diego won Southern California by 2 points over Belmont Shore. They played SSC Raptors. They played Thunder. Santa Monica is not exactly a slouch team either, for that matter, or Ombak. So they've played through an excellent and challenging season. So I like Mustangs here. And they're seeded 2. Okay, right? Then the Charlotte Cardinals against the Wolverines. Now, how great is this? This is the defending high school club champion against the defending Tier 2 champion. A very, very good Wolverines team. Now, they played each other already. The Wolverines, credit to them, got on a plane, flew across the country, went to Charlotte, played the Cardinals, lost 46-22. They did fantastically well. I'm going to say that this is going to be a closer game this time around. But still, the Cardinals are favored. Watch them play in person. I have to say, enormously impressed. There are a couple of things that they do. One is all these things happen like really, really quickly. A player catches the ball. He takes a step, maybe 2 steps, that indicate to the defense that they're attacking. They're taking a very direct line. And then suddenly they make a little move. The next step or 2 steps, it's a sidestep thing, and then they pass it. All through that, maybe all of that takes like 1.25 seconds to do all of that. That's what's great about it, because the players understand that if somebody anticipates that pass and the hole is there, they'll take it. And the players understand that if everybody just sort of hesitates and stands there and they're a little bit misaligned, they'll make that step, they'll go through. And everybody will do that. So it's a very, very impressive rugby team. So Cardinals, yes, gotta favor them. So now I'm thinking Cardinals Belmont Shore, Cardinals LCA in the semifinal. Wow, what a great game. This is what's so great about the club matchup. I think Cardinals are going to win the whole thing. But I really don't think it's going to be easy. It's going to be very, very difficult. And an injury here or there and things get thrown out the window. Meanwhile, in the other bracket, probably the Mustangs. Probably. I think that the Mustangs are a little tighter, a little bit more organized, a little bit more understanding about what they can do in a variety of things, including defending, including kicking the ball, things like that. If you saw that LCA K-Bend Utah final, you saw 2 teams that don't kick the ball much at all, and eventually, how do you handle that kicking? That's a question. So I'm thinking probably Cardinals over Mustangs in the final. I don't know, though. It is not set in stone. Don't mean to diss anybody, something like that. If there's anybody who is poised to win 5th, probably the loser of Belmont Shore LCA. I think that team's probably going to take 5th. It's going to run the table after that. Difficult though. Watch out for the Tigers. This video is brought to you by Next Phase Rugby, which is an app that allows high school rugby players to connect with college rugby programs around the country. Those programs can be school supported, club, all kinds of different ones. 450 are already on the app, and thousands of collegiate hopefuls are also on the app. Download the app if you're a college, or if you are a high school player looking for a college, go to nextphaserugby.com. There's a discount code for the premium level for high school players at the bottom of the screen. And good luck with your college search.
It's also brought to you by USA Rugby Foundation, which is an organization that supports grassroots rugby around the country, and your donation can help build this great game of ours. Also brought to you by Irish Rugby Tours. Touring is a great way to expose your players to the global nature of rugby. Go to Irish Rugby Tours. They don't just do Ireland. They do all kinds of different countries: Spain, Portugal, New Zealand, South Africa, the UK. That's just a smattering of what they can do for you. Go to irishrugbytours.com. And this video is also brought to you by Panther Rugby Academy, providing elite playing and training opportunities for players throughout the South and a more extended version of the South. Panther Rugby Academy, check them out. And I also want to thank a new kit provider, which is 8x8 Sports. You can't see their logo on this shirt, although you can see it on others, but there's the back of the same shirt because I have more than one. And several other great kit. We'll be having merchandise available very soon as well, so I'm excited about that. Thanks to 8x8 Sports. It's 8x8sports.com.
So now we come to the school bracket, and a couple of things. First of all, I don't even remember what I said a year ago, but Gonzaga was all upset. Somehow felt that I had disrespected them, and then they went out and just stormed through everybody.
You feel disrespected by Goff Rugby Report, is that right?
Yes,
that's correct. Okay, so what happened? Tell me all about it.
I mean, we're the 1 seed. We played the hardest schedule all year, and people still think we can't get it done. It's ridiculous.
But what we saw from Gonzaga, I will point out, is a team senior heavy with very, very good rugby players, several of which are now starting or at least in the Game Day 23 for major college programs. This is an exceptional team. The Gonzaga this year, they may have a losing record, 500 record, or maybe 6 and 7, 6 and 6, 6 and 7. That's really unlike them. Yes, they'll lose a couple of games. They'll find teams to play in on tour that they lose to, but don't normally come into nationals with that kind of record. So at the same time, just want to point out, first of all, I think that their really overwhelming loss to St. Ignatius, 64-5, kind of lit a fire under them a little bit. And a bit of a sea change, a bit of a turning point, something like that. As I understand it, Gonzaga's kind of figured some things out in terms of team culture, things like that. Meanwhile, they'll play a Harriman team that is strong. Not necessarily the best Harriman team we've seen, but strong. And, they lost fairly close to LCA. They lost fairly close to Caveman. They beat Kahuku and Liberty, the second best team in Washington in the Montana tournament, but they haven't played a lot of teams. They've been scrimmaging, playing alumni games, things like that. They'll be toughened up from that. But again, this is the Woodlands issue. Who have they played? In the end, who have they played? They played two excellent club teams. Have they played enough teams? Have they tested themselves enough? Gonzaga certainly has. Is this an upset special? I think it is an upset special. It's a 3-6 game. And with Gonzaga at the 6 and Harriman at the 3, but I think we could see a surprise. Also in that bracket, Xavier versus Straight Jesuit. This is one of those situations. Coming to the national championship for the first time is very difficult. You just don't know how it works out. That first game, getting ready, switching on for that first game, 60 minutes, remember, is very hard. And if you're not prepared, you can be a little bit overwhelmed. The second game, you do all right. You pick yourself up and say, oh, okay, everybody, we figured it out. Let's go do it. And then that third game, remember, 3 days, you're tired, a little beat up, a little bit, again, overwhelmed, trying to get yourself up, switch back on for that game. That's a tough one as well. Xavier has been there. They've been there for years. They've won it before a couple of times. This is a very good Xavier team. This is a Straight Jesuit team that's never been there. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to switch on and know exactly what's going on, make the right decisions, like go for goal when there's a kickable penalty, when instead of like getting all up excited about kicking for touch and trying to get for that try, or tapping quickly and knocking the ball on. These are all mistakes, by the way, that St. Ignatius made in their first arrival at Nationals in 2021. They just happened to get out of that first round game barely by the skin of their teeth to get into the semifinals. They won that semifinal, that second game, and then they lost the final. Strake, it's going to be tough. Xavier, very comfortable there. I think Xavier gets into that semifinal. Against Harriman, against Gonzaga, don't know. And the other side of it, very interesting to me. Notre Dame de La Salette, probably the best Notre Dame de La Salette team we've seen since they made the national final, something like 20 years ago. This one, the big thing about La Salette is they don't always have size and strength. They have rugby knowledge, technique fantastic, well coached. They make their tackles, all of those things. The question is, do they have power? They have power this year. Jesuit Sacramento, again, the question is, who have they played? Well, they've done a lot of work the last couple of years. They went to Japan last year. They played the Sanix tournament. They've gone to Southern California. They played Fairfield Prep from across the country who came and played them. And then don't forget they're in the Northern California League where they're playing De La Salle and Granite Bay and Danville and San Francisco Golden Gate, things like that. So Marin, Motherlode was the other two teams they played. So it's how have they done? Well, they're about 500. The issues there, I think that this is a La Salette team. I don't think they've ever seen it. I don't think they've played a team like La Salette. This is a very, very good La Salette team that understands how to play. They're not going to make a mistake with a bad body position in a ruck. They're not going to make a mistake by, something like not retreating 10 when they give up a penalty. They're going to retreat 10 really fast because they're fit, and then they're going to make their tackles. So I think this is a tough one. I'm going to pick La Salette on this one. And earlier, I may not have thought that way. I thought that, I still think, actually, nobody wants to play Jesuit first round. Nobody does. But I think La Salette might also be one of those teams you don't want to play first round. And then we get to a matchup that we've seen twice before in the last 4 years, which is St. Ignatius against Greenwich in the first round. This was the game that I talked about, 2021. Ignatius almost lost that game to Greenwich because Greenwich goes to nationals every year. And so they know how to play. They know how to play field position. They know that they need a good goal kicker who's going to go for points when they're on offer, take the points, things like that. Just be smart. The next time they met, it was a very strong St. Ignatius team. They won fairly comfortably. This year, it is a extremely strong St. Ignatius team. I have them ranked number one. I've had them ranked number one since they beat Xavier by 25 or something like that, 28, I believe. And I had Xavier ranked number one. Yes, Ignatius lost the Charlotte Cardinals. Yes, they were beaten fairly convincingly, over 30 points. I would say that was a great game for Charlotte. It was a poor game for Ignatius. I've seen Ignatius play. Obviously, as you know, I help coach their freshmen. I live there. I see that team all the time. I've seen them play a few times this year, as it happens, because I've happened to be there. And they're the number one ranked team in the country. So if they're playing right in front of me, I'm going to go see them play. This is a Ignatius team that scores a ton of points. If you are within a try of them with, say, 10 minutes to go in the game, you're in trouble because there's a good chance they're going to score 2 or 3 tries in those 10 minutes. But if you can get ahead of them early and start having them make stupid decisions, yeah, some good things can happen. Right now, I'm going to have to say Ignatius favorite over Greenwich. Greenwich is having a great season. They're a good team, and when they really do well, you look at their score against Fairfield Prep compared to Jesuit score against Fairfield Prep, quite similar. So maybe they're similar. Okay, that's a possibility. I could see that game being a 5th place semifinal that everyone should stop and watch. I would love that. But I see Ignatius winning, taking on Notre Dame de La Salette. I see Ignatius probably beating La Salette simply in all things being equal, size and power, physical strength. And Then Gonzaga Harriman, I don't know. I don't know who to pick on that. Against Xavier on that. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like Xavier might make the final. So yeah, that's what I've got going. I think probably I'm going to pick Ignatius to go all the way through. I'm probably going to pick the number 1 seed Cardinals to go all the way through Tier 2. If I don't pick SOC Raptors, I'm picking Eastside to go all the way through. That's what I've got. At the same time, any one of those teams can break through and surprise everybody. It depends about health. It depends about focus. It depends on their preparation, things like that. And by the way, it's going to be chilly, a little bit rainy, and so it depends on the weather too. I'll be there the whole time. Check out my coverage. Check out the videos that we do, the interviews and everything like that. Thanks for watching. Good luck to everybody. And yes, it's finally here. Thanks a lot.